So this week I've been posting quite a lot on LinkedIn around the mind-body connection, and thank you for those that have been viewing those posts and commenting and engaging with them. I wanted just to share a quick video blog or vlog, as they say, with you regards a story about a client that I've been working with, where the mind-body connection and the real need to understand why connecting the mind and body and working with the awareness of that is just so important. So I guess for the purposes of this video, I'm going to call this client Steph. And Steph is 55, and Steph came to me because she was really struggling with heightened stress and anxiety, which is one of the I guess specialisms that I work with people like that, all types of people that have those types of conditions. And yeah, so she was referred to me, and she came to me because she was really suffering with stress and anxiety. And we got talking about the causes of that stress. We got talking about the triggers that cause that stress, and we also got talking about her past and maybe what had gone on leading up to her being 55, and how life had panned out really. And one of the things that transpired was she shared with me a story of how in her early 40s she had a really major fallout with a really close relative that had been part of her life for a really long time, all the way through her childhood, right up to her early 40s. And they were like sisters, but they'd had this massive fallout over something. And she told me this story about how for the last 15 years she's really carried that. And she's carried that in a way of regret, anger, a real sadness at the same time, but also carried it from a perspective of frustration, and thinking whether she could have done something different, replaying over and over again the build up to that event, how that event happened, what came out of that moment, that fallout, let's say, in that relationship. And kind of blames herself a bit for it. What could she have done differently? How could she have salvaged that relationship? Um, and as she kind of told me this story, and then we started talking about her stress symptoms, she then started to talk to me about other things that have happened in her life. For instance, two grown-up children that in her kind of early 40s had fled the nest, as they do, and she felt a real gap in her life around that and really alone. And that also there was some other things that had gone on around being separated from siblings, not in terms of a loss, but just that the relationships were distancing and maybe grow apart because, obviously people move to different parts of the countries, or they get jobs, or they get their own families, and things sometimes change there a bit, the dynamics change. And then there was this final part that was really interesting around the relationship between her and her husband, and how they'd always been really close. They got married really young. They'd been together for 27 years and never really been apart. And pre-COVID, her husband was offered a job overseas, and he took the job and has been in that country for the whole of the COVID period, unexpectedly, because he can't get back. So I think when you kind of really add all this stuff together, and then Steph starts to tell me her symptoms, and her symptoms in terms of physical, I guess the way that the physical symptoms are showing up, we start to talk about, so I start to ask questions about, have you noticed anything happening in your body? What's going on for you in terms of physical sensations? And there is absolutely a gap between the understanding of all of these events and traumatic moments that happen in our lives, and how we're feeling pain, and a gap in terms of, are the two linked? So Steph's stress symptoms, I would say, that she talked about were things like numbing of the fingers, tingling sensations in the arms, so the whole of the arm, rapid heart rate, and what we might describe as palpitations, a tightness of the chest, almost described as maybe sort of hyperventilation, where the breath is rapid, shallow, can't really, we can't get control over it, where we can start to breathe in a comfortable way. And headaches, so kind of what I maybe would describe as stress headaches, and then just aching muscles, so constantly tired body, tired muscles. So we had a really long chat about this, and we had a really long chat about, the past and what had gone on in the past, and the fact that, Steph was really carrying some of this stuff, particularly around this relationship breakdown that had been going on for the last 15 years. And I guess the point of me telling you this story is that The mind-body connection can't be underestimated. It really can't be underestimated. What we tend to do, and particularly in this Western world, is we get a pain in our body and that pain continues. So we can only put up with it for a certain period of time, and then we decide we'll go to the doctors. We go to the doctors, and in Western medicine, the doctor will give you something to cure the pain or to dull the pain, to dull the ache. And we take that medicine and off we go. What we don't do very well here, I think, in Western world cultures and Western world medicines, is we don't explore the reason for the pain. So we don't maybe ask the question, can you talk to us a little bit about your background? Can you talk to us about your childhood? Can you talk to us about things that might have happened in your childhood that might have caused you trauma? Some events that maybe took place. Can you talk a bit about your upbringing? Can you talk a bit about how your parents were with you? Has anything significant happened in your life that has maybe tormented you for some time? So there's all these kind of things. You can see probably where I'm coming from with that. But we don't do that. We don't ask those questions. What we try to do is we try to numb or dull or relieve the pain through a tablet, through medication. And because of this, what we're essentially doing is we're turning our back on what really happened, and we're not facing into it and turning into that traumatic experience or that life event that we are holding on to, that we are carrying in our bodies in some way, but we are not acknowledging in a more mental capacity. We're not acknowledging from a mindset perspective. And it doesn't matter which way we cut it, right? The body keeps the score. The body keeps the score. So, you know, if something's happened in our past and we continue to carry that as a burden, we will, in some way, shape or form, feel that in our bodies eventually. So it's just something to think about, really. I'm hoping that this week I've been able to bring about a sense of awareness, let's say, and maybe just a bit more understanding around why mental health is not just about the mind. It's not just about our state of mind and how we're thinking, how we're feeling emotionally, but it's also really important that we take stock of the challenges that poor mental health and suffering, particularly holding on to past experiences, can show up physically in our body, and how actually they can make us really poorly. So hopefully this has been helpful and been a bit of an eye-opener, but it'd be really good to hear your feedback. But do get in touch as well if you're suffering or you just want to have a conversation. Very happy to be here to support you. So I'm Stefan Thank, and this is Infinity Wellness, and this week's been about mind-body connection. Thanks very much.